Before we dive into today's episode, we have a little disclosure for you. This podcast you're about to hear isn't quite like our usual episodes. In fact, it's an experiment, a deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence and content creation. Everything you're about to experience, from the topic selection, storytelling, and dialogue to the music, sound effects, and even the visuals, was entirely crafted by AI, with no human intervention beyond setting things in motion. We wanted to explore a thought-provoking question. Could artificial intelligence really take on the full role of content creators, creating an engaging podcast episode from start to finish? Could it match the depth, creativity, and connection we strive for in our work? So as you listen, remember this episode isn't meant to represent our regular style, our personal touch, or our usual hands-on approach. Instead, it's a fascinating look at the possibilities of AI, and perhaps a hint at the boundaries it may not yet be able to cross. Consider it a playful experiment, and maybe a peek into the future of storytelling. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled podcast next week. But for now, we invite you to sit back, listen, and see for yourself.
Two travelers lost in the world of the unknown. Nick and the Jazzer Bert travel through the mysterious to planes both near and far in a place we call deceptive reality.
Man, I wonder where I heard an intro like that before, Nick.
I've been watching a lot of Twilight Zone lately because it's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's how I knew what you were trying to imitate.
Good. I hope other people get it too.
Let's hope so. Listen, if they don't, they need to go to the YouTube machine and look up some doggone Twilight Zone.
I think I did pretty good off the top of my head there. I thought
you did.
that was pretty
really good.
Yeah.
You call me.
I didn't even think of him too.
Jazzer?
Jazzer.
Jazzer? What the heck's a Jazzer, Nick?
That's a fellow who's full of pizzazz, or a jazz musician.
I mean, I'm definitely not a jazz musician, just for the record. I don't want you guys thinking I am a jazz musician. That'd be a lie. Okay.
Well, you never know. There's still a lot of time left. You could learn new skills.
At my age and with the stuff I got going on, Nick, listen, I'm not going to have time for any of that.
Yeah, you don't have time for that.
Don't got time for that, Nick. Sorry.
But you're still a jazzer. You're still a jazzer nonetheless.
I mean, sometimes you're an orchestra guy. Sometimes you're a jazzer. Listen, it happens. Yep. It is what it is.
Yep, that's right. Well, you definitely got pizzazz to spare, so.
Sometimes you got to have a little extra pizzazz. Sometimes you got too much pizzazz. Trust and believe. I know. So for anyone that doesn't know, we do this week by week. And listen, we're all discombobulated right now because I'll do one of Nick's and one of mine. The problem is not necessarily this problem, but we've been recording two back to back. So I'm flipping between them. So they're kind of getting all mishty-mashty. But for you guys, when this comes out, it's going to be the one after Nick's episode. Okay.
That's right. And I think it's good that we've started saying specific dates because it just wouldn't happen that way anymore. It's impossible now.
It's impossible now. It's completely impossible, in fact.
Right.
So
which I like it this way.
Yeah. Nick has always been a big component. He's like, stop telling the date. I'm like, listen, I like telling the date.
Yeah. I know, but we got to have a little flexibility. We got to be able to dodge and weave sometimes.
That's true.
You know?
We don't need to tell them it's September 30th. We don't need to tell them that.
Right. Oh, no, Bert. No.
But for anyone that doesn't know, this is obviously my week now. I've already warned Nick. This could be a throwaway episode, so you guys may never see. This could be This could be a blooper reel.
Could be. I'm excited.
Like a blooper episode. See, Nick says he's excited, but he doesn't understand why. So I probably should explain myself.
Right. Before you do, though, I'm excited because I've never been warned as much about a single thing before. So this is going to be really off the beaten path. I have an idea.
It is so far off the beaten path. It's crazy.
I like it.
So here's what I did. Anyone that doesn't know, I use AI quite a bit. Like a lot. I've taken I've taken my last 7 episodes And I plugged it into AI. Full scripting, not for our podcast, but for the video segments and the audio segments that we create our stories off of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I told AI, I want you to look at how I created these episodes. I want you to see my wording, my structure, how I created the episode. And then I want this to be labeled as a deceptive reality concept idea. And then I told it, I'm going to give you a subject matter, and I want you to write an episode. And I gave it the concept of a cryptid. And then I told it all the cryptids that we have done thus far. And I said, you cannot do it based on these concepts.
So, do you know what it is?
I have no clue.
Oh, I'm so excited now. What are I wonder if it's going to be real.
So,
is it just going to make something up?
Here's the funny thing, Nick.
Okay.
Because I thought of that.
Mm-hmm,
now, what I did was I created the episodes, and then I told it, I need the segments to be no longer than 2 minutes.
Right.
I need 7 total segments.
Okay.
So when it would spit it out, I would quickly copy it, take it into 11 Labs, paste it. As soon as I'd hear playing, I'd hit stop, download, and I threw it into the video editor. And then I went to the music generator. I created a quick piece of music and I threw it on there at 4 minutes. And then I just spliced it and diced it. And though I may know the first couple of words, the only thing I know is that it's a cryptid. Now,
okay.
AI has a tendency of doing something called AI hallucinations.
Which is what I was concerned about.
Yes. So what I did was, once all 7 segments was created, I copied and pasted them into AI again, and I said, tell me every single spot that's fictional and rewrite this segment so they're not fiction.
Oh, wow.
So I did it again. Copied, put it back into AI, go through these 7 segments. Anything that is not fictional, rewrite it.
Or is fictional.
Or that is fictional, yeah. Make it so there's no fiction. By the 5th time, it came back and said that everything was factually correct. Now,
wow.
it took 5 times because it was still adding stuff.
Yeah.
So I gave the scripting to a friend of mine and I said, I want you to look up this case and make sure that the name, the location, and the cryptid are legit.
Right.
If it's not, then tell me because I got to scramble and find an episode for the podcast. So he got back to me like an hour later and he said, the cryptid exists, the people in the story exist, and from what I can determine, the events did occur.
Is it the person who was on your slate that did this for us?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Though it's the same name, yes, but not the guy that you know. Different guy.
Oh, okay.
There's less letters in his name, but I then said, is this gonna be a good story? And he laughed and he left it at that. And I'm like, oh God.
I'm real pumped about this. I cannot wait.
For the first time, Nick and I, neither one know technically. I know the area that this occurs. And I know it's a cryptid, on which I told Nick it was a cryptid. And I know like one of the family's last names because it was at the beginning of the narration. There's no way that I couldn't hear.
Right.
I did not know any of the things that I heard. So this is, I may know, but I just don't know the names and stuff, which is entirely possible. But I'm super curious how this is going to turn out.
AI is one thing, but I just thought now, you know what would be awesome? If there was a behind the scenes third person on this podcast and they make the stories and we always come into it surprised.
Right. That would be
that's
amazing.
My favorite thing.
Yeah.
Right. But let's see what a robot can. Oh, I shouldn't use that word. That's offensive to them.
Yeah, don't say robot, Nick. That's offensive.
That means, well, I'm not even going to say what that means, but anyway, Let's see what AI can do as our silent partner. I'm excited
now, to be
for
fair,
this.
there's no sound effects, and the music may not even match this story. So for those that's listening
even
out,
funnier.
For the people that's out there in the YouTube machine, and if you're listening on a different platform, obviously we're going to clean it up so that it makes sense by the time it hits you guys. But for Nick and I, this may not make any sense.
I think we should go with it anyway. Even if this is a complete flub, let's do it. Supposedly,
it is supposed to write it just like I write it. I gave it my last series of podcasts. So it's supposed to write it the way I typically write. So I'd be curious to see if it got down my writing to a T. I don't know.
Well, the reaction from your friend leads me to think this is going to be a hilarious Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So
we're about to find out. Are you ready, Nick, to see? I know I'm ready to see what this is.
I've never been more ready in my life.
Let's see what this is.
When Bill got home that night, he rushed to tell his parents what he had seen. His father, a practical man, chalked it up to a tired mind playing tricks in the darkness. But Bill couldn't shake the image of the creature, and the next day at school he started telling his friends. Word spread quickly through Dover. People whispered about the demon that Bill Bartlett had seen. Some laughed it off, but others were gripped with a growing sense of unease. The Bartletts had been a well-respected family in Dover, and Bill wasn't the type to make up wild stories. But Bill wasn't the only one to encounter the creature that night. Hours after Bill's sighting, another teenager, John Baxter, was walking home from his girlfriend's house not far from where Bill had spotted the creature. As he neared the woods, John saw something standing at the edge of the trees. At first he thought it was a small person, maybe a child. But as he got closer, he realized something was wrong. The figure was similar to what Bill had described: pale skin, a large head, and thin limbs. John stopped in his tracks, and for what felt like an eternity, he and the creature stared at each other. Then, in an instant, it darted away, disappearing into the woods. John ran the rest of the way home, his heart pounding in his chest. When he got home, he could barely speak. But when he finally told his parents, they knew something had terrified him. That night, the Baxter family locked their doors, fearing that whatever their son had seen might come back.
Well, I know the one thing for a fact, that's a legit cryptid. I've heard of that before.
I don't know what this is.
No?
It's called a Dover demon. I'm assuming
the Dover demon. Yeah, the Dover demon. I don't think there's multiples, but maybe.
Yep. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use AI. There's a thing called Notebook LM. Let me pull all this information over to Notebook LM. That way, if we've got questions, AI can answer our questions for us.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's right, because neither of us wrote this. So I can't ask you any questions about this.
Well, technically you can once I get these in here.
Oh, that's true.
I'm going to add a few different sources in here. And then it should answer any question that we've got, hopefully without giving too much stuff away. So the Dover demon, I know this is Massachusetts because that's in one of the things. So I knew it was in Massachusetts. But I now know the name of it, and I know the location of it, and I know one of the families is the Bartletts.
You know, it did really good a job at our style, except I thought the very beginning was a little
abrupt,
fractured almost. Yeah, like it was pretty abrupt.
Start.
But once it got going, the style was down. I think it was pretty good.
See, I was super curious how AI would look at what we do and then try to recreate it. Because everyone says AI can do all this. I'm like, no, it can't. No, it can't. Not yet. Maybe one day, but not yet.
Yeah.
So I was kind of curious to see how this turned out. But
so how did you feel about that? I thought that was pretty good.
The beginning caught me off guard because it happened so quick, and then I'm like, what the heck are we listening to? Who is this?
I kind of thought you played the wrong segment.
I thought I did too at first. I'm sure if you saw my eyes, I was like, did I put the wrong segment in the wrong spot? Because that's usually we got a little bit of a lead up, and this one just bam. Yeah. Which is not uncommon for AI.
I kind of thought it was going to start over at the end too, because it almost seemed like the part at the beginning belonged at the end.
Yes.
But overall, I'd give it like a 7.
Yeah, I'd give that
for copying our style, 7 out of 10, I think.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably 7. That's probably a pure 7.
Yeah, and it tried to make it a story like we want to try to do.
Yes, because I told it, because there was some things that I told it had to do. And one of the requirements was it had to create the story around a family or families. Right. If there's more than one, I told it that it had to follow our typical narrative and how we create things. I told it that, of course, everything has to be factual, and it took it 5 times to finally. I call that a purification. Okay. Yeah. Because it took 5 total times. But the other thing I told it was typically at the end, we like to go over different theories and concepts, but we like to keep that until the end. So I'd be curious if it did that. And it kept that segment to 1:36. So not hateful.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, 1:36, it's real easy for me to generate pictures for.
Yeah.
I like that.
Here's the funny thing. 7 segments, 11 minutes, 45 seconds. So it clearly is way faster than I am at doing these things, because mine been like 27 minutes.
Because it jumps right to the point. Like, it doesn't shake hands or ask you about the weather. It's right to the meat of the conversation.
Yeah. That's why I was curious if it'd be able to follow our story blend, because we like to add little things here and there.
Yeah. Now, I did get the feeling of like, when I listen to these, a lot of times I make a mental image and like do an imagination of what it would be like. And I was able to do that. Yeah, the thing that I found weird is these parents are super trusting of their child. It reminds me of The Simpsons, where I think it was Lisa or Bart wakes up from a bad dream and said to Homer, is like, I dreamt the boogeyman's here. And Homer's like, oh my God, the boogeyman's coming. And he pulls out a shotgun and starts blasting through the door and stuff.
That is
like, these parents believe that kid right away.
They did.
They're like, we're locking all the doors.
This was back. When did they say this happened? When did this happen? Do we know when this happened? Did they say
I don't recall hearing that part. I know it was a while ago, though. I do know that.
Did this occur? Because I don't know the answer to this question. Let's see what it says. The old AI machine is searching through all the stuff I put in there.
Okay.
The Dover Demon was reported sighting April 21st and 22nd of 1977.
Yep, that's a long time ago for me and you.
Yep, the sightings occurred over a 26-hour period.
Wow. You know what that makes me think? That's exactly the amount of time that an alien might be visiting us. I'm thinking alien already.
I would lean alien on this also, as of right now. Like, if you was telling the story, I would lean heavy alien is what I would call this.
Yeah, I'm thinking it is too, especially where it's got a start, a lot of people see it, and then an end.
Yes.
Because I mean, like, it's possible a monster slips in the bathtub and dies, but more often it left.
That's true. And what did they say the description was? They said it was like a baby or something.
Well, he said he thought it was a little person, but it had like long spindly limbs and big eyes. Like, that's pure alien to me.
That's alien to me, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And back in those days, I can see them saying, it's a demon, depending on where they're from, right?
It's like your, what's that demon you had? What was the demon you had? Or the devil, New Jersey Devil.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That.
And that was New Jersey. This is Massachusetts.
Yeah, so maybe are those places pretty close?
Relatively close.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of states.
Yeah. No, I can see them saying, I just saw a demon. Probably more accepted at that time than saying I saw an alien. Because you know what people would say to you? They'd be like, you saw a little green man. Like,
That's true. That's facts.
Yeah. Even when I was a kid, people used to say that. Little green men. Yeah,
for me too. It's little green men, or they would say, what was that other thing they used to call them? Why can't I think of the name of them? Because we haven't used it since then. Martians, that's it. Couldn't think of that. Good job,
man. Why were we so obsessed with Mars? Well, actually, we kind of still are. A lot of people think there is life on Mars. Like, like complicated life, not just single-celled life.
Absolutely. That's because there is, Nick. We figured out the moon is just a facade.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, come on. Man.
Yeah, that's true. We did cover that before. I don't want to backtrack, so yeah, definitely there's Dover demons on Mars, probably.
That's right. Of course. Duh. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
It was here for 26 hours and it had to go back.
It was here for a good time, not a long time.
Exactly. So we got a little bit of information. I feel like it was an abrupt one.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate the narration. I didn't hate it.
No, I liked it just fine. I was able to get my regular imagination picture going.
I'm curious now, since it's already started moving in that direction.
Right.
If they're all going to be like, bam, like hit you right between the eyes as soon as it comes out the gates. It comes out the gates swinging.
Well, how long is each segment? They got to be pretty short too, right?
Well, it's 11 minutes, 45 seconds over 7 segments.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like just newsflash.
Yeah, I think it's going to. So listen, if this ends up being completely true and turns out okay, you guys are getting straight to the nitty gritty. Okay, you can't complain. No complaining on the nitty gritty machine. Okay.
Yeah, this is Deceptive Reality abridged.
Exactly.
Everything is cut out, but the headline.
Exactly what it is. That's facts.
Yeah, no, I like to just find, as long as it can keep consistent, though. That's my next worry. Is like the next part going to be just right out of left field.
Well, I'm curious why my buddy laughed. That's the only thing. I don't know if it's the topic that he laughed about, because maybe he thought that it's absurd that we're doing this topic about this demon thing. I don't know. He didn't really explain.
Does he like low humor? Does he like dad jokes and puns and stuff like that? Probably heard Dover and he kept thinking there's going to be a character named Ben.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I heard it. Bend over. Oh man. Well, you ready to hear the next fast section, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going to be real critical about this one. I'm going to it's got to connect. I want to hear some connection.
We're going to see if it can connect. I don't know.
All right.
Just a few hours after Bill's sighting, another teenager, John Baxter, was walking home from his girlfriend's house along a rural road near where Bill had seen the creature. John, 15 years old, was used to walking through the dark woods of Dover at night. But as he approached the area near Miller Hill Road, he noticed something moving in the distance. At first, John thought it was a small person or an animal. But as he got closer, his heart began to race. The figure was humanoid, but smaller than a person, with the same large head and glowing orange eyes that Bill had described. It stood on 2 legs, balancing awkwardly near the edge of the woods. John froze, staring at the creature. For what seemed like an eternity, the two locked eyes. Then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the creature bolted into the trees. John sprinted the rest of the way home, his mind racing with fear. When he arrived, his parents knew something was wrong. He told them about the strange figure in the woods, but like Bill's family, they struggled to believe the story. But now there had been 2 sightings in the same night. Was something stalking the woods of Dover?
Well, the AI has convinced me it's not aliens. It's a small person.
They're making sure we know that part. I'm going to be honest. I didn't hate that segment. I didn't hate it.
No, I thought it started off really good and continued really good. But I just love how it's like 3 times in 3 minutes, it says this is a small person.
Yes.
It's like, and this one was particularly funny for me anyway, because it was like at first he thought it was a small person and then it moved like a small person. I'm like, well, I guess it's a small person.
A small person. So this is why AI can't do our job just yet.
Right.
Because we would have obviously not done that. Yeah.
Yeah. We use AI for a lot of different stuff, not usually writing our stories. But I believe we do for our descriptions that we paste into the podcast.
A lot of stuff. We use it titles, SEO optimization. We use it for tags. Right. I even use it for thumbnail concept art now. I ask it for 5 different concepts for thumbnails that will catch attention. Now, sometimes I don't like any of the 5.
Right.
But like for my channel today, it gave me a phenomenal idea. And I'm like, I would have never thought of that.
They're all good on their own, but I noticed when I was writing the XML for our thing that a certain word, I was like, man, I feel like I've seen this word so much. And I think it was deep dive. And I did Control F to find in the XML how many times it had said deep dive, and it was something like 40 something times.
Deep dive. I wonder why it says that.
I don't know if it was deep dive or it was some word, but it really likes it for description.
Here's what I know is I do when I'm not going to give my trade secret away.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
But there's a certain thing that I put in my prompt to maximize the first 200 words because that's what YouTube looks at.
Right.
And it does it for the SEO optimization. So there's a methodology that I've learned. Actually, someone accidentally released something they wasn't supposed to release, and I snagged it before they took it down.
Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, that come in handy. So I basically, every single time I do it, I technically have a GPT on it, but it automatically preloads a 40-page document that provides the best optimization for title, description, and keywords. And the first 200 words is apparently what Google looks at, which is inside the description. So y'all got it now. Deep dive is one of them. Put deep dive as one of your first 200 words. So
AI, if it likes something, it really likes it. So I wonder, I'm going to keep a little tally of how many times it says it was like a little person or moved like a little person.
I can't remember if I would have had that journal on there, like that PDF file on there. So maybe it is doing SEO optimization within all of these things. I didn't think about that.
Oh, that's a mystery within a mystery.
It kind of is. I'm curious now. I kind of want to go back and see if that's what's in there, because I redid it 5 times. And on top of that, all the scripting I had before I deleted, because I'm like, I'm going to accidentally open this and read something. Because a lot of times I'll go back to things and I leave it always as untitled until I'm like ready for it.
Yeah.
Or like if I'm sending it to Nick, I'll name it then. But like I've got like 4 or 5 things inside my folder that all says untitled because I've got everything inside the document.
Yeah.
But then I never go up and it never automatically loads a name in there either. So I'd be curious. I'd be curious if that's in there. I don't think it is.
I think for the title of this episode, it's got to be Dover Demon, just a little guy? Question mark. Just a little person? Question mark.
Just a little person? Question mark.
He's just a little guy.
It'd be funny if it gave us that title. That'd be hilarious.
If it does, you snag that right away.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but this segment here, like, I'm not meaning to rip on it because this segment was actually quite good.
It was pretty good. I was surprised.
Yeah.
It almost
this
continued the story.
Wasn't as abrupt.
It was.
Yeah, it really did.
I felt like it let it kind of marinate a little bit. Like it wasn't just, bam, hit you with a fact.
Right. It did that thing just a couple hours after Bill's story. This happened, and I like that kind of thing. Because this is when we have a lot of that, like this happened and then a little while later, a couple hours this happened, it takes me back to that episode we did with the best dispatcher in the world.
Oh yeah.
You remember that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really like that. Yeah, Ruth Ann, love her. That episode I really liked because it was like all this stuff happening almost simultaneously, and so I like when they establish that.
Yeah, I like it when it kind of gives me a timeline in my head that I can be like, okay, well, this was this far away, so can I deem it as being possible? Because think about it. When we're talking, here's a great example. We're talking about this Dover Demon.
Yep.
Dover Demon. So
just a little guy. Just a little guy.
Listen. But the next question I would ask, me personally, if I was researching this thing right now, which clearly I'm not.
Right.
But I would ask, how did this person know this other person? It's the Bartletts, and I've already forgotten the other family's name, whatever their name was.
Yeah.
But John, was that his name? Or was that the first
His
guy?
name was John. No, the first guy was Bill. Second guy was John.
There we go.
I don't remember last names, though.
I'd be curious if Bill and John... Bartlett was the first people's name. I remember that.
Right.
I don't remember the John's last name.
No.
But I'd be curious if they know each other. Because they're both young, right? Like this last guy, they said he was young too, because he was walking. He's walking through the forest.
Yeah.
So I'd be
curious. Well, there was a time difference, so it definitely didn't happen at the same time. We know that.
No. Yeah, for sure. But if it's like an hour or something and they were nearby. See, this is typically where I'd say, hey, Nick, do they live nearby? Do they have someone? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But
exactly.
We don't obviously have that now. But that would also be the question.
Us later.
It could. It very well could. I mean, I'm sitting here already saying, I wish I would have done better on this, but it could just actually be coming up. Who knows? We don't. That's the beauty of it. I don't know. This might be a spot where I'd be like, Nick, you just gotta wait. Listen, I got a different segment. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. We do that all the time.
All the time. We actually
like we're always like, that's a good question that we might talk about later.
Correct. This makes it kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. Like I wouldn't mind doing these, in the future too. Like, throwing like one of these random oddities in there.
Yeah, I think this is a neat experiment. I would also, even though we can't do it all the time, I would like to get someone to do us up a story like this. Not an AI someone. Maybe just a little guy we know or something.
Little guy or a little girl.
Yeah, little guy or a little girl.
That's right.
Get them to do that.
Correct.
And, and we won't be harsh because they're just a little guy or girl. We can.
Just a little guy, little girl. Listen.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, though, to have some of these cases where we both kind of think it through and kind of throw concepts and ideas off. Because let's be honest, when we come in and it's our story, we're already biased to a degree because we already have that thought process. We're like, this is what it is. I know the ending of the story. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
We did one episode where we accidentally both knew it and had both researched it. And I thought that went really well because we were able to add parts that the other didn't have.
And we talked about doing that in the future. We're going to have to choose an episode where we both do research and kind of come up with what we think it is.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be really cool. Especially if it was something really long. Yes. Like, when I think back to like some earlier ones that you did where it was like a possession of someone in a house, the one where the kids were banging around on the beds and I said that they should put up for adoption. What was that one? Yeah, that would have been a good one to do that for. Correct. But
yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that when we look, and not only that, but like we're doing things so significantly different than how we did back in the day. Like back in the day, man, we did research and stuff on things, but like now we're really more story driven and family stories and stuff like that. Like it's significant. You can almost take the same occurrence, put multiple families and still get multiple, like, I don't even know a great example, like the Loch Ness Monster. Like, let's say there's 5 different families. You could technically do the Loch Ness Monster 5 different times.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's better than covering like a huge subject. You know what I mean?
Right. And before we weren't doing that and it was quite different. And I think this format's really suited us way better. Yeah,
I think it's so much more fun. There's story, there's narrative, there's emotions that get involved. So, I would call this style that we got now is pretty much a win. I think it's the best way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this AI has sort of gotten the hang of it for these 2 segments. But the one criticism I will make is it's not giving us a lot of information to discuss. And we always try to end on something where we need to figure something out or we want to know more about it. All I know so far, and like I said, I'm not dissing it, but all we know so far in 2 segments is there's 2 little guys who saw 2 little guys.
And that's the thing. For all you guys that's out there, it's like, y'all just use AI to write your stuff. I'm proving it right now. That's not true. Good night. My segments are like 4 minutes each, and that's me cutting them down.
Yeah, and the rewrites. You should all see the rewrites that we have to do, sometimes last minute, because we find out new pieces of information. And while that makes a good story, from my point of view, as a guy writing it, that sucks.
It sucks when I've had I've put things into 11 labs, had everything almost like done, and then found something else where I'm like, well, this completely changed the entire thought process for me. And then I got to start all the way back over. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, I can't even remember what episode it was, but I almost didn't have it ready in time.
Yeah.
Like I had it ready for like 2 weeks. And then like the night before, I was like, I just found a police report that just says so much different stuff. I got to put it in. Otherwise people would be like, you know,
I'd be like, what the heck are you doing? Yeah. Like for me on this kind of format, it's difficult because we want to provide as much factual information as we can. And I honestly try to keep as much of my bias out as I can, but it's difficult. I mean, I guess to a degree, this is what a podcast would sound like with no bias. Like you're not going to get any bias in the AI generated one.
Yeah, exactly.
But you will get hallucinations. This is why I was curious about this part. I'm kind of curious to hear number 3, Nick. I kind of want to see what happens.
Yeah, let's see if it gives us a little more to chew on. But overall, I like where it's going.
It's kind of interesting. It kind of makes it a little fun.
Yeah.
The next evening, yet another sighting was reported, this time by a 15-year-old girl named Abby Brabham. Abby was driving with her friend, Will Tainter, near Springdale Avenue when she saw something unusual lurking near the woods. Like the previous 2 witnesses, Abby described a small humanoid figure with a large head. However, instead of orange, she described its eyes as glowing green. At first, Abby thought it might be an animal, but its shape and movement were all wrong. The creature seemed to be hunched and was difficult to see clearly, but Abby felt it was standing on 2 legs. It moved quickly, darting into the trees before she could get a good look. Shaken and confused, Abby and Will continued driving, wondering if what they had just seen was real. By this point, word of the strange sightings had begun to spread through Dover. The Bartlett and Baxter families had already reported what their children had seen, and now Abby's experience added another layer of mystery. The Dover police were contacted after the 3rd sighting, but there was no physical evidence of the creature beyond the unsettling descriptions provided by the teenagers. Despite the slight variations in details, such as the color of the eyes, each sighting described the same general features: a small figure with pale skin, a large head, and glowing eyes. The witnesses did not know each other well, yet their stories were disturbingly consistent.
Yeah, that kind of answered the question we had earlier. Do they know each other? They do, but not well. This is probably like a small town, right?
I have no clue. Dover, Massachusetts. Let me check. Let's see if this thing knows.
It sounds like a small town thing.
Big is this town of Dover? I plug like 7 different sources in here. And it's what this Notebook LM does is it takes all the information and combines it. The town of Dover, Massachusetts is described as very small with a population of about 7,000 people, according to the article, one of the articles that I gave. So it said it's about 7,000 people.
Yeah. So that's definitely a small town, right?
Yeah, small.
Yes. So there's not a lot of people here that I know if I see them or know their names, but I don't know them. And this is a bigger place than that. So they probably know of each other.
Yep. Old Abby and Tainter.
Yeah, I don't remember his first name, but I remember the last name. These names can't be made up, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
But
they're not supposed to be. And if they are, I'm coming after someone. But she said he had glowing green eyes. Did it say glowing eyes on the other 2? I don't honestly remember.
I think it said about an eye color, but it wasn't green. I'm pretty sure it did. But when you get a little bit of contradictory stuff, sometimes it means something. Like, I don't remember I don't remember if it's like I saw it on a Star Trek episode or something like that, where some things communicated. Actually, in the real world, some things communicate through changing of colors and that kind of thing.
Oh, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
While the sources generally agree that the Dover demon was large, round, glowing eyes, accounts differ on the specific color. William Bartlett, the first witness, described the eyes as glowing orange when reflected in his car's headlights. John Baxter, the second witness, described seeing 2 lighter spots in the middle of its head, but didn't specify a color. And then Abby Bradham. So I thought she had a different last name.
No, I think that's right.
Abby Bradham, the third witness, stated the creature had bright green eyes.
Hey, I do see one problem with what you just looked up versus the first story.
What?
Or maybe it's not, but I thought Bill was real young in the first one. He was like 15
or something, right?
Yeah, but he was driving a car in what you just read.
William Bartlett, the first witness, described the eyes as glowing orange when reflecting in the car's headlights.
Oh, it could be a car that went by, I suppose. But it sounds like he's in the car.
That's what I would have assumed, but it's got the article. Wait, there's a source. I can click on the source.
Okay.
Let's see. William Bartlett's full story on the occurrence. The bizarre tale begins at 10:32 p.m. on April 21st as the 3 17-year-olds, Bill Bartlett. I thought he was 15 in the story.
Well, if he's 17, then it checks out.
Yeah. Bill Bartlett, Mike Mazzaka, and Abby Brody was driving north on Farm Street. Bartlett, who's behind the wheel of a Volkswagen, spots something creeping along the low walls of loose stones on the left side of the road. At first, he thinks the image is that of a dog or a cat until his headlights shine on it and realizes it's nothing that he's seen before. The figure. So, did we know there was 3 people? I'm sorry. It's Bill Bartlett, Mike Mazzaka, and Andy Brody. They said he was just walking, right?
That's what I had thought, yeah.
Either this article's wrong or the AI's wrong.
I'm putting it towards the AI, maybe.
You know what? It says around midnight, 15-year-old John Baxter leaves with his girlfriend Kathy Cronin's house on the south end of Miller Road. Then Baxter starts walking up the street to go home. Are we confusing the 2 accounts?
It could be.
Or did the story confuse the 2 accounts? Oh, wait. John Baxter was the second person.
Yeah,
so
that was the
means
second person.
William was the first person.
Right, yes.
Yeah, because it's Bartlett. So, no, the story's right then, because the first story they was driving down the road. The second one, the guy was walking down the road, and that was John.
Okay.
This is what happens when we don't do the article and AI does it, and I'm trying to remember everything.
Yeah. But I mean, it's close enough. What happened.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think it's right. I think we're confusing it,
right.
I think.
It could very well be. But I like, so the eyes of the different colors, like, there are creatures in our world that communicate through changing of colors, and I think cuttlefish is one of them.
Could be. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah. Right. Octopus might be another.
Octopus does change their colors. In signs of aggression, they change to, I believe, red, which of all things is weird that it'd be red.
I know that kind of works out, doesn't it?
Kind of fits, yeah. They get hot-headed, as they say.
But these things, well, I don't know if octopus was one that communicates through color changes, and if it is, that would kind of fit, because they're saying, like, there was this thing going around a while back that octopus, like, don't share DNA with anything else on the earth, or I don't know if that was ever debunked or not, but that would be a cool thing. And these things, maybe their eyes change color to communicate different things.
Could very well be. I don't see how it couldn't.
Yeah.
Are you still leaning towards alien? I mean, I think at this point I'm still leaning alien.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning alien. I was just joking about it just being a little person. I mean, it kind of is, but
I'm curious if there's going to end up being a case of like a UFO or something at the end of this story.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that too. Also, this third story, that was 2 people in the car, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got
an Abby.
Right. So we've got a double witness on this part.
Yes.
Which I like to see that, because, you know, if you all got individual ones, that means something. But if you got someone in a car with you and they're both telling the same story, that means a lot more to me.
You know what I think happened?
Mm-hmm.
Is the first person that went straight to him running inside the house and telling his parents. It didn't go into the fact that the friends was in the car with him.
Well, that could very well be.
Because it was so abrupt.
Right.
And I think that's probably what happened. It just happened so quick.
Yeah.
That it didn't go into where typically we would have let that marinate a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right about that. He's like, F these other guys. I'm getting out of here. They're still sitting in the truck to this day.
You know what? And it's probably my fault because I said I want you to focus on family stories.
Right.
But I did not mean don't. See, this is what happens with AI. It takes you literally. Yeah. I appreciate the fact it did family stories, but you can incorporate the other people into the story too.
Yeah, but I'm fine with this. I mean, if we hadn't looked up the article, it would have made perfect sense anyway.
Oh yeah, it would have made
perfect sense.
We
would have just went with it. Correct. But yeah, so I'm still thinking alien, and I'm taking the eye changing, the different reports of the different eye colors to mean that that's something, that some method of communication with them.
That'd be my assumption.
Yeah, I like that. Man. Yeah, this is interesting. So now we're up to, actually, of people we know the names of, we've got 4 witnesses, but it sounds like we've got upwards of 7 witnesses now, I think.
So we have William Bartlett.
Yeah.
Bill Bartlett.
Right.
Mike Mazzocca.
William and Bill are probably the same, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because,
So Bill Bartlett, Mike Mazzocca, and Andy Brody.
Right. So there's 3 there. 3.
And then John Baxter was by himself. That's 4.
Yeah.
And then Abby Brobham.
Okay, we're 5. Up to 6.
But she was driving home with William Tainter.
Right.
So that's
6 witnesses.
Plus the 3, that's 6 witnesses, yes.
Yeah, so that's a good amount of witnesses in a short amount of time who only a little bit know each other. And if they were lying about how well they knew each other, people would have called them out.
I would assume so. Like, this is probably just big enough to where they'd be like, wait a second, no, you guys went to school together, though they are about the same age.
Right, they are. They definitely are. It'd be weird if you got your mild acquaintances together to form a big hoax. Like, I can see you getting people you hang around with all the time, but just getting 5 other random people to go along with this doesn't seem likely.
That's going to be very difficult to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Would you want to go to the next segment, see what we got? This is what, segment 4?
Yep, we're on segment 4 now. I wonder if it's more sightings or if it's going to dig into it more.
I don't know. This is where it's...
I know.
I don't know, Nick. We about to find out, though.
As the days passed, the Bartlett family tried to move on, but Bill couldn't shake the image of the creature he had seen. At his father's encouragement, Bill worked on sketching the creature, carefully capturing every detail, from its large, bulbous head to its long, thin fingers. The sketch became one of the most iconic pieces of evidence linked to the Dover demon case, and it remains widely recognized among cryptozoologists and enthusiasts to this day. Despite the unusual nature of the sightings, local authorities were reluctant to dismiss the reports outright. While they were skeptical due to the lack of physical evidence, there were no footprints, no fur, and no other signs of the creature's presence. They took the consistency of the witnesses' description seriously. The police interviewed all 3 teenagers, and the similarities in their accounts were hard to ignore. Still, with nothing tangible to investigate, the case eventually went cold. As the days turned into weeks, news of the Dover demon sightings began to spread beyond the small town. Though local media picked up on the strange events, it wasn't until cryptozoologists and researchers took an interest that theories began to multiply. Some believed the creature was an alien due to its unusual appearance, particularly its large head and glowing eyes, while others speculated it could be a previously unknown species of animal. There was no shortage of theories, and soon the creature was being compared to other cryptid sightings from around the world. Among the people drawn to the case was Loren Coleman, a well-known cryptozoologist who took a special interest in the story. After interviewing the witnesses, Coleman became convinced that the Dover demon was a legitimate cryptid, something entirely unique that had never been documented before. He would go on to write about the case in his books, ensuring that the Dover demon would be remembered as one of the more mysterious cryptid encounters in modern history. Despite the passage of time, no definitive explanation for the creature has ever been found, leaving the Dover demon as one of New England's enduring unsolved mysteries.
I'll tell you, Loren Coleman gets around.
Yeah?
I've got at least 2 books up there by Loren Coleman. Most of them are like Bigfoot related.
Well, listen, when you're a specialist, Nick, you're going to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, he definitely specializes in cryptids, and the stuff I read, he's pretty fair about the thing. Like he's got his share of skepticism, but I'm wondering what made him think this is a cryptid. That's what I'm curious about, and I don't think we're going to know that from this.
Possibly from the thing I've got, the LM. If it was in one of those articles that I pasted in there, maybe. Why did think this was a cryptid? Surveys. Whoops, I spelled cryptid wrong. Well. Boom. Survey says. It's thinking. The sources provided do not contain any information.
Oh. I guess we got to buy his book.
It says Coleman's investigation of the Dover demon sighting shortly after they occurred, interviewed witnesses and collections of their accounts. He was the one who coined the name Dover demon.
Oh,
which was
interesting.
By the media and then widely associated with the creature.
You know, I can't think of him dealing with anything extraterrestrial before. I wonder if he just leans away from that, like maybe he doesn't believe in that, and he believes everything odd must be some undiscovered species.
Could be.
I mean, that's plausible.
That's very possible.
Also where he named a demon. Like, it wasn't the kid saying that, I guess.
I'm checking to see if there's anything outside of this program that'll tell me that. Because I'd be curious. Because so the way the Google LM works, or Notebook LM works, is based on the you basically copy and paste articles. So what I copied in there was like multiple sources. I copied 12 creepy facts about the Dover demon, the Wikipedia. There was an article called Dover Demon Scare of 1977. I posted a YouTube video that was in there. Mysteries and Puzzles of the Enthusiast. And then I did the actual cryptid zoology thing.
Right.
So that's where it got the sources, but it might not just be in there. Why? While it didn't explicitly state his reason for considering the Dover demon as a cryptid, they offer insights in his perspective and the significance of the case within cryptozoology. Coleman was actively involved in investigating the Dover demon sighting shortly after they was reported. He interviewed the witnesses, including, and then the people we talked about. Coleman coined the name zoology, described and noted. Yeah, it doesn't say even in this article.
Yeah, the impression I'm getting is that he's a cryptozoologist, so he comes at it from a cryptozoological perspective. If he was a UFOologist, he'd become at it as an alien. You know, if he was a demonologist, it would be a demon directly. I doubt he thinks it's a demon.
That is fact. That is fact.
But I'll tell you, the picture you posted looks spooky as heck.
It does. It kind of has, when I looked at it, do you know what it reminds me of? There used to be a cartoon of ants, and it kind of has like an ant head to me.
Yeah, I kind of see that when I'm looking at it. Like, was it the old army ants thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember those. Those were
That's
cool.
what it reminds me of.
But and it does look like they had mentioned in a couple of the segments that it's sort of hunched over, although it can walk upright. I guess if I'm thinking like what I'd conventionally think of how a UFO might be operated, that might be difficult for them, and I don't know why they'd evolve that way.
I don't think they would.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. This is something I'd expect to see from something that lived underground or in a, you know, in a burrow or some tight area.
Correct.
Or something like that.
That is true. That's what I would go with.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe some kind of subterranean thing that doesn't head above ground too often.
Could very well be. It could be an earth dweller, Nick, inside the earths.
Yeah, that's right. Do you remember the story of the Green Children of Woolpit?
Yes.
So they weren't hunched over that I recall.
No.
But they come from a place where there was tons of them underground, and they're just the first ones that ever wandered out into the surface, really.
Correct.
So, I mean, that could be what this is, because we've never had any green children since or before.
That's true. Did you believe that story?
Man, that's a tough one.
It's kind of
I believe it's an event that happened. Do I believe that they lived in some kind of subterranean city? Maybe not. Actually, probably not.
Wouldn't it be interesting, though? Like, that'd be a wild story to just tell as a kid.
Yeah, I know, right? But how did they make themselves green?
I don't know. Radiation poisoning,
I do
That's
find,
what happens.
Maybe. Or like some kind of nutrient deficiency or something like that.
Correct.
Have you ever seen those guys that drink colloidal silver?
Oh, yeah, and they turn blue. There was a guy, he was on all those TV shows. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that. I mean, stuff like that can happen. If you're jaundiced, I think you turn yellowish.
Yellow. Yep.
Isn't that so? Yeah.
If you eat a lot of
kind
carrots, you turn orange.
Is that true? Or is that...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's
Glad
people
I don't eat
that
many carrots.
Yeah, so some people believe that carrots will cure cancer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when they do high abundance levels of carrots, their skin becomes like a orange color.
Oh. Ah, interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that can explain these things, like getting too much of one thing or not getting enough of another.
Right.
Can change your skin. What we don't have a lot of evidence for is underground civilizations that, in particular, that would have kids coming out of there that have regular people clothing.
Right.
So that's something I just thought of now that makes me kind of be like, I don't know if that happened or not.
Underground city, Nick. Listen, you don't think they got stores underground?
Oh, surely they do, but I doubt their fashion have kept up
Well, listen,
our fashion is even kept up with Japan, and we're on the same level of the planet here.
Maybe they had advanced clothes, Nick.
Maybe.
And we didn't even understand.
Maybe. Do you think
what
so?
Is this
I don't think so.
It's possible, Nick. You don't know. You don't know their life.
I don't know. I
They're
don't.
People, Nick.
I don't believe that. I believe there has been underground civilizations. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that happens because we talked about the people who retreated underground to get away from the giants.
That is true. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
The original Bigfoot.
Right.
Neanderthal men's.
Neanderthal men's.
That's right.
The red-haired giants, my ancestors.
Also, do y'all like the way Nick says civilizations?
Civilizations?
That's right.
Am I saying it weird?
You're saying it Canadian, yeah. Civilizations.
Well, y'all know what that's about.
We say civilizations.
Civilizations. Oh, really?
Yeah,
civilizations. I do see the difference.
Yeah, yeah, so when I hear you say yeah, and then I go civila, which is weird because yours would technically be correct. Civilizations.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is one someone laughed about for a while. What do you call that place where you go see movies?
The theater.
Yeah, so I would say theater.
Theater?
Yeah, theater.
Who ate her?
And you say theater? Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Movie theater.
Movie theater. Yep, that's different too.
Yeah. I was laughing the other day. I was talking to someone that was from the UK, and they was making fun of how we talked. I'm like, y'all can't even say water, so I don't want to hear it. You guys completely got rid of the T. I want some water. Water. Where's your tea at, folks?
Wait, were you talking to him in person?
No, just over interwebs. I didn't go
I was going to say, they got some nerve coming to America and then making fun of you.
Exactly.
That's a whole other level.
Exactly. What was it he was making fun of me on? I can't remember. It was some word. They're like,
don't they know they're going to get blasted?
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, what are you thinking? You're not even going to have a gun there, bums.
Yeah. Don't come here and make fun of me. You'll get blasted.
Exactly. We shoot rockets off for fun.
Yeah. I'm going to be super nice when I go to America.
Yeah, Elon Musk lets us have flamethrowers that's not flamethrowers. In fact, it says not a flamethrower on it.
Right, but I bet it throws a flame now and then.
Yeah, but it's not a flamethrower. Technically.
But maybe
that segment, I didn't hate it.
A cryptid. No, it was good.
I'm a little confused now. Because that's the fourth segment. If it gave us the hypothesis already, and we got 3 more segments, what the heck else could it go on about?
Well, I was thinking too, that sounded really close to an ending.
It really did.
Didn't it?
It kind of, for me, I mean, like, that's what I typically have at the end of mine, so I'm curious.
Yeah, maybe it starts a whole other story.
Because here's the thing, we're at 6 minutes and 53 seconds of narration, and there's 11 minutes 45 seconds, so we're a little over halfway. We're like 60%.
Yeah,
what else could you
it's got to tell us more.
Yeah, but this is
yeah, I know. Maybe this is where it goes off the rail, or maybe it reoccurs somewhere else, or maybe it reoccurs later, or maybe they go back and investigate and find something out. Because this would be a good way to throw us for a loop.
It would be like a cliffhanger where we think we're done, but we're not done. I do that a lot in my stories, Nick. It's possible.
It's got to be that. Otherwise, these next 3 segments are not going to make sense to me.
Not going to make sense to me either. I'm kind of curious. You want to see what the next one is, Nick?
Yeah, let's go into the next one, see if it throws us for a loop-de-loop.
This could be a secondary story, folks. We don't know.
It could be. We don't know.
Let's see what happens.
As word of the Dover demon sightings spread beyond the small town, a mix of curiosity and skepticism began to grow. Some residents believed the creature was real, based on the consistency of the 3 teenagers' descriptions. Others, however, dismissed it as a possible hoax or a case of misidentified wildlife. While the reports captured the town's attention, there was no widespread panic, just an air of intrigue. The families of the witnesses, Bartlett, Baxter, and Brabham, found themselves drawn into the conversations circulating through Dover. Some neighbors believed the children had seen something unexplainable, while others questioned whether it was simply a prank that had spiraled out of control. Despite the varied reactions, the witnesses themselves never wavered in their stories. Though the sightings stirred considerable local interest, no further appearances of the Dover demon were reported. As weeks passed and no physical evidence emerged, the town gradually returned to normal. For the Bartletts, Baxters, and Brabhams, however, the event left more questions than answers. While the media attention eventually died down, the mystery of what really happened on those eerie April nights remained etched in the memories of those who had encountered the unknown.
Well, that also seemed like an ending.
That did too. You know what I found interesting was it gave theories in 4.
Right.
It gave a couple extra theories in 5. But it could have done all those in 1.
Yeah.
Because it repeated some stuff twice.
Yeah. I mean, it did say that some people thought it could have been a hoax.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Some people thought it was wildlife.
Yeah, wildlife. Have you ever seen like almost any animal that's got mange?
Yes, it's horrible.
Yeah, they look like something from another world.
They do.
Like, and it's probably unpleasant for them too, but a lot of times when there's weird creature sightings, they say, oh, it's a raccoon or a dog that has a mange or something like that. And I can totally see why people say that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I saw a video this weekend of a fox with, I forget what it's called. Man, why can't I think of what it's called? Because I was watching, I'm like, how horrible. But apparently, like, they don't live very long after that and they're suffering.
Right.
But it's kind of like mange, but it's not. But it's like they're going into starvation mode and they're almost delirious and stuff. And it's like, good night. And it didn't even look like a fox. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, that happens. Like, I mean, disease stuff can make people look weird, but there's birth defects that happen too. And they happen in people. And there's some birth defects that you wouldn't know you were looking at a person.
Right.
And I'm not making fun of that at all. In fact, I find it very hard to talk about that kind of thing. But there's things like harlequin ichthyosis, where if you met someone young who have that, and I don't think that they live very long most of the time, you wouldn't necessarily, you could think that was a cryptid when they're very little. Like, for sure. Don't look that up, by the way. Don't look that up.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's, you look at some of that stuff and you go, if you were in, well, I mean, think about it. Even like animals that have the mutations where they got like the extra legs and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Two-headed calf or something like that. Like, you look at that and you're like, what in the world is that? And you would almost think that's a cryptid.
Yeah. Well, you definitely, like, if I was outside and saw a deer and it had like 2 additional legs spreading out its back, I would, my skeptic mind would eventually take over. But at first I'd be like, oh my God, that's a monster.
I'd been like, Skinwalker.
Yeah, like, really.
Skinwalker.
Silly Skinwalker. You aren't very good at this yet, are you?
You're horrible. You got to morph quicker.
Yeah, you're caught halfway between.
Too late now, Skinwalker. I know it's you.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like, in the town that I'm in, we've got a super overpopulation of deer, to where it's becoming a problem. And when deer get this really big overpopulation, they sometimes get these strange diseases. Yeah. And I was out walking one night and there was one, I think they come and put it down later, but it was rampaging through the bushes. It was running out and it was biting other deer like a zombie. Oh, wow. Its jaw almost looked like it was unhooked or something. And it was just dripping foamy blood from its mouth. And I was like, I am going home immediately.
Oh, immediately. Yeah. You got to go.
Yeah. Because this was like, there. Right. This was crashing through like thick brush and grabbing other deer and slatting them around. And I'm like, if it does that to others of its own kind, what's it going to do to me?
Funny story along that lines, kinda.
Yeah.
I released on my YouTube channel today a very short episode on voodoo.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's just like a little 3-minute video just talking about voodoo in Africa and Haiti and all that stuff. And one of the topics they went into is zombies.
Right.
And
with
they had this
pufferfish stuff.
Well, here's what's crazy. There was a guy, older guy, I forget how old they said. Anyway, when they put him in a casket in, I think it's Haiti. When they put the caskets down, they put a screw through his cheek.
Oh,
that's how they acknowledge the fact that he had to be dead at one point. He said he remembered coming back to life because someone dug him up, and then he said that he remembers being hit in the head with a shovel. And then he worked underneath them for like 3 years, and then they died, and that's how he got away.
Right.
But his family was shocked when he came back into the town, because now you got this guy that's been buried for 3 years.
Right.
And basically he became like a celebrity. Like everyone in town would go to him like, this is the dead guy that's walking around.
Yeah.
But they was talking about how everyone in town said it was a form of voodoo. And then it talked about people that was dying from voodoo. How this real arrogant guy would go around town. He was mocking this voodoo doctor that was basically, he was making fun of him and the spirits. And the next day they found him face up in the middle of his house with his eyes completely wide open, but he was dead.
Oh.
And they said he had to have died from something so horrific that his eyes got locked in that position.
Man, can you imagine what it must have been?
Oh, yeah, no. That's why I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want to tick anyone off with no voodoo stuff going on.
No. Well,
voodoo
think about this. That probably that must have happened so much, because they were saying they used to like poison them with pufferfish.
Yes.
Which would make them look like they're dead. So they could purposely get these servants.
Yes.
And they were convinced that they were zombies.
Yes.
And they just work for these people. And it must have happened so much that it became common knowledge that everyone knows this kind of thing happens.
Well, did you know?
Otherwise, how would we hear about it?
Do you know where voodoo technically came from?
No, where?
Black slaves.
Okay.
So what they were doing was they was in the process of creating voodoo to get revenge on the white slave owners.
Oh, really? Was it also based on something called Santeria, or was that the same thing, or is that different completely?
I don't know. Like the one from Africa, that was the case. So I'm assuming probably different areas. That's probably very possible. But
I'm not well versed in this.
I'm not either. I wasn't either. I thought it was interesting that the first zombie ever, quote unquote, zombie on TV was a white zombie, and they thought that was so weird because that was not how it was supposed to be.
I wonder if that's how the band got its name.
You know that?
White zombie.
Yeah, because that was the first technical zombie that was on TV. It was a white guy.
Yeah. Oh man, could you? I'd be so ticked off if I thought someone brought me back to work. I did back-breaking labor for 3 years, and then it's kind of like, hey, you weren't really a zombie at all. You were just working for this guy for free for nothing. Correct. I'd be like, I cannot believe this.
Nick be back at it again, like, son's a gun, man. Crazy,
you know, I'm ticked off enough that I gotta go to work and get paid for it. I'd be real mad if I didn't get paid.
That's hilarious. Now the new concern is, Nick,
right?
It gave us an ending twice, technically.
Right.
We would have condensed it down into one. What do you think the odds are it gave us a third ending?
I think it's going to keep giving us endings till it's over with a new theory. And it's going to keep saying stuff like But for the Bartlett and Braber family, this continued on in their minds and hearts. Yes, exactly.
And that's what AI does. It loves to repeat certain things.
Yeah, but I still think we got a cool episode out of this because we got to cover some off-center topics that are sort of related to this that are interesting.
Oh, for sure. I'm curious
so we made it work.
I wonder if we should blend all these last ones together and then do like an edit. I don't know. I'll see if I can do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they are. Maybe this is going to be...
These could be different. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like how much we've got what, 2, 3 more?
We're on 5, so there should be 2 more.
All right. Well, let's go to the next one. That'll give us a better idea of what you're going to have to work with.
Let's see what we got. Listen, curiosity killed the cat. Let's see.
As the years passed, the memory of the Dover demon slowly faded from public consciousness. But for the 3 teenagers who witnessed it, Bill Bartlett, John Baxter, and Abby Brabham, the events of those nights in 1977 would never be forgotten. Bill Bartlett, in particular, found himself haunted by the sighting. Though he never sought fame or attention, his encounter with the Dover demon became a defining part of his life. Over the years, he remained steadfast in his story. Even as skeptics attempted to discredit him. Bill has admitted that he sometimes wishes he hadn't seen the creature, as it continues to follow him even decades later. John Baxter and Abby Brabham, while not as publicly outspoken as Bill, also stood by their accounts. Their stories remained consistent, and none of the witnesses ever recanted what they saw. The eerie similarities between their descriptions left investigators perplexed, and no one could explain the creature's appearance. Lauren Coleman, the prominent cryptozoologist who investigated the case, continued to take a special interest in the Dover demon. Coleman has written extensively about the sightings, calling them some of the most credible in cryptozoology. Despite numerous studies and discussions, no definitive explanation for the creature has ever been found. Theories still persist. Some speculate the Dover demon could be an alien. Others believe it was a previously undiscovered cryptid, while skeptics suggest it might have been a misidentified animal. Yet, the consistency between the 3 sightings, coupled with the witnesses' unwavering belief in what they saw, ensures that the mystery of the Dover demon remains unsolved.
So we did get a new piece of information. No one ever recanted.
No one ever recanted, but a lot of times they wish they would not have necessarily said something.
Right. I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit of repetition going on here, though, so I think it's starting to fall apart at the end.
I think what I'm going to have to do is before we put this episode out, what I'll do is I'll tweak these endings. So those of you that's watching at home, it won't be exactly what we're hearing because there is some repetition that's coming through. Maybe I'll add some bits and pieces to make it flow better for y'all, but we're laughing on our side because we're like, we've only heard that 3 times now.
But I guess this guy must have been pretty traumatized by this, or at least the narration wants us to focus in on that.
Exactly.
Like it almost seems like it's trying really hard to make sure that we believe this. It's like repeating itself, like this definitely happened, guys. Just so you know,
just so you understand. Listen. They wished it never would have happened, but it happened.
Yeah, but it did. Please believe
us. It's a little person that might be an alien or possibly an animal.
Yeah, and it moves like a little person.
Moves like a little person.
It does everything like a little person. And it is a little person.
It is definitely a little person.
And it's definitely true, and it's a true story about a little person.
Exactly. I wonder if we should play the last part and if it's just going to repeat. Or if it actually gave an ending.
Yeah, we don't want to do too much in between if we're gonna get the same info in the last part.
Yeah.
So let's cross our fingers and let's play the last part.
Let's see what happens. I'm curious.
Bill Bartlett, now an adult, still stands by his story. He has never sought fame or attention. He just wants people to know that what he saw that night was real. The memory of that strange encounter in 1977 continues to linger in his life. John Baxter also recalls the events of that fateful night with clarity, though he has preferred to keep a lower profile over the years. While the experience left a mark, both he and his family have largely moved on from the incident, though the memory of the Dover demon remains. Abby Brabham, the third witness, has likewise stuck to her account of what she saw. Although the families have moved on from the immediate shock of the sightings, the events of those 2 nights in April 1977 will never be forgotten by those involved. To this day, no further sightings of the creature have been reported, and the Dover demon remains an enigma. Some believe the creature still lurks in the woods of Dover, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself once again. The Dover demon remains one of the most compelling and unexplained cryptid sightings in U.S. history, and for those who encountered it, the strange events of those nights in 1977 left an indelible mark, one that they will carry with them forever.
Is it the most compelling, though? Is it really?
I mean, AI thinks so. Nick, don't question AI machine.
Well, it's spent the last 4 segments just trying to convince us that's true. Okay, so this is what I'm going to say, because I don't think we can comment anymore on the information we've been given, really.
No.
So AI started out really abrupt, like we said.
Yes.
Then it evened out, and it did a really good job on the first 2 segments, I think.
Yes.
Third segment, also good.
Agreed.
But then it started, like, the 4th segment should have been the closing act.
Yeah.
Because after that, it just sort of was going in circles to convince it that this really happened. And, that could have come from the instruction where it was like, make sure this is real.
Yeah.
But I guess a big point of this episode is, like, I don't know where AI is going to go, but writers and artists and all that stuff, they're not in real danger, because you can tell the difference between this stuff, especially for writing.
Right.
Like,
writing's difficult because, like me, the way I would have created it would have been different.
Right.
First off, I would have marinated that front part for a while.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have known that this thing was called the Dover Demon.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had any of that info. And then I probably would have went into more so the first guy driving and what he saw.
Right.
And then going back to his parents and then cutting it at the parents. Then the second person, I would have went into the walking, the feeling, the emotions that's involved.
Right.
Cut. Then I would have went to Abby and her boyfriend and then cut. And then the 4th one, I probably would have went into outside sources, what people saying, theories that would have happened. And then I would have went into the finalized and called it a day. But mine probably would have also been 18 minutes long.
Right. Another thing too is, though, even though AI seemed to struggle to come up with information, I've heard about the Dover Demon before, and I feel like there's so much that was left unsaid about it.
Oh, probably.
That if you were just to hear this episode, you might think it's not a very interesting story at all. But I think there's a lot of stuff that it didn't really cover that really makes this compelling, because as it was just told to us, I think it was interesting, but it wasn't compelling.
I would agree.
And I think if this was the original story, we might not have continued talking about it over the years.
Correct.
So,
I would have been curious how we would have wrote this story.
Right. I was kind of thinking about it just a minute ago. Like, what if we did redo this story?
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Do like a part 2, the untold story of the Dover Demon.
Which definitely happened, and it's definitely a little guy.
It's definitely a little guy.
I had fun at this, though.
I did too.
I enjoyed this.
But that goes to all the people that worries about all their jobs being done.
Yeah.
How all of us content creators are just letting AI do it all. AI is a valuable tool.
Right.
But it's just
but it's a tool. Exactly. You can tell people who are doing all their content through AI. It's pretty clear. I hear it all the time. I'd say 95% of TikTok is that. A lot of YouTube is becoming that.
Yes.
But the real people that like the real artists, the real writers, it has a soul that this stuff doesn't have. You need to have a part in this. So
the way I look at it is AI has to be maybe 20% of what you do. Maybe.
Yeah.
The other 80% has to be you. It just has to. There has to be you have to invoke feelings for a story to be interesting.
Right. Exactly. And for a lot of people, like hiring people to do this 20% is just out of the reach for a new one. But I don't think there should be any big companies or wealthy creators that are using AI. They should be hiring people every time. Yes. You're using substandard parts on an important machine if you've got the money and you're not using people.
Correct. I would agree with that.
But,
well, what says you at home? Do y'all think we should do a part 2? Do this thing right? Y'all think we should do that? Curious what they're going to say in the comments down below.
Yeah, let's hear it. I think we should, but we'll let them decide.
We'll let you all decide. Tell us in the comments down below or wherever you're seeing posts about this. I'd be super curious. Nick, I don't think we can definitively say what we think this is. I'm leaning towards alien, but without knowing the whole story.
All I know is it's a little person. It's just a little guy.
Wherever you're listening to our podcast, please be sure to give us that thumbs up. Let us know we're doing a good job. Until we see you on the next podcast. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, little guy.
In the shadows of the night, where the trees whisper fright, footsteps echo loud and clear. The Dover demon draws near. Eyes glow like fiery coals, on a hunt through misty knolls. Heartbeat racing thunder fast, in the woods you wanna last. Run, the demons on your trail. Scream louder, let your terror wail. Hide, but it's in vain. Feel the fear driving you insane. Creeping through the forest cold, legends of the brave and bold. None could catch this phantom beast. On your soul it's set to feast. Empty streets and silent cries. Look away but never wise. Haunted by this creature stalk. Stalks the bravest in the dark. Run, the demons on your trail. Scream louder, let your terror wail. Hide, but it's in vain. Feel the fear driving you insane. Empty streets and silent cries. Look away but never wise. Haunted by this creature stalk. Stalks the bravest in the dark. Run, the demons on your trail.